Okay, grade 8s, so at this point you guys have all the skills to move on to something new with the order of operations, because hopefully with integers you now know how to add and subtract them, which you learned about in grade 7 and we also reviewed at the beginning of this topic or chapter. We learned how to multiply them using the sign rules, and then we found out that the sign rules for division are exactly the same. If the signs are the same, we get a positive product or quotient, and if the signs are different, we get a negative product or quotient. So now we're going to combine all of that together and use the order of operations with all 4 of our operators or operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So in order to do that, there is an order, and typically I use the acronym BEDMAS, where we have B representing brackets, and I want you guys to keep in mind there are several different types of brackets that exist. We kind of have these round parenthesis style brackets, and we also have square brackets, which you might see, and the squiggly ones as well. You might see those. And if you do, because I think you are going to come across this in your textbook questions, this just means we work from innie to outie. So you work with the innermost ones first and then move on to your outermost ones. So for example, if I won't use integers, I'll just use regular numbers, or whole numbers I should say for now. If we had something like 1 plus 2 and then times 3 divided by 2 plus 1, all I'm saying is we're gonna use the innermost ones first. We'll use these parentheses style ones first, then move to square, and then move to squigglies, and we would do it that way. So there's 3 types. You'll probably just encounter this style and the square style in grade 8, but there are more, just so you know. And the E stands for exponents, which we began exploring in chapter 3 when we looked at the Pythagorean theorem. Those are just those tiny little numbers in superscript that are a little bit smaller and a little bit higher, and they just refer to repeated multiplication. We have D, which stands for division, M, multiplication, A, addition, and S, subtraction. One more thing I'll mention, because this is important too. If you're ever just down to division and multiplication, if you're just those are the only 2 operations that you see, you can just move from left to right. This is a special case. So yeah, if you're just down to multiplication, division, even though multiplication might come first, you just move from left to right as you see it and do your operations that way. And the same thing applies if you're just down to addition and subtraction. You are also going to move from left to right, and you wouldn't do subtraction first, only if it appeared first. So you just move from left to right once you get to this point. Okay, so here is our first example. We have negative 20 divided by 5, take away plus 7 times negative 3. So Looking at my order of operations, I see no brackets, I see no exponents. You're not gonna deal with integers and exponents till next year, so you don't really have to worry about the E too much this year. But the first thing that comes up is division, so I'm going to take care of this first. Now I like to underline it, or maybe you wanna use a highlighter, but I wanna show all of my work, I wanna show all of my steps. I don't just want to have this and then write some final number here. I want to be showing all my steps as I'm going through this. You guys will notice that in your assignment for marks, if you get one question like this, it might be worth 3 or 4 marks. So there might be 3 or 4, or maybe at least 2 steps that you have to do to get your final answer. So please make sure you're showing all of your work. Okay, so this is what I'm dealing with here. Negative 20 divided by negative 5. So my signs are the same. I expect a positive quotient. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And that's what we get. We still haven't dealt with any of this, so I'm going to bring it down. And then I have subtraction and multiplication. Multiplication comes first, so I'm going to do that. My signs are different. I expect a negative product. 7 times 3 is 21. And now I'm just down to positive 4, take away negative 21. So at the beginning of chapter 8, we came up with a rule called add the opposite if we're subtracting integers. And we also, add the opposite is just kind of like a fancy math trick, or a way that we can do things easier with using a paper pencil method. But we did use models, and there's a full explanation of why that works. It's not just a math trick, there's there's mathematical reasoning behind it. And if you want to get a refresher on that, you might need to go back and watch the video on 8.1 where we went over that and why that works. But at this point, I am just going to use that rule. I'm going to add the opposite of the second integer only. So I'm adding the opposite of the second one, and then I'm carrying out this operation. Positive 4 plus positive 21 equals positive 25, and I might just put a square around my final answer, so to show the marker that that's what I got. So there's our first example. Again, we're just kind of going through the order and coming up with the final number. Next example, I have negative 2, take away positive 12, plus positive 9 divided by negative 3. I am going to do division first. Positive 9 divided by negative 3. The signs are different, so I'm going to end up with a negative quotient. Then I'm going 9 divided by 3 to get 3. Then I'm going negative 2, take away positive 12, plus negative 3. So in this case, I'm just down to subtraction and addition. And if I look at my order of operations, the A comes before the S, or addition comes before subtraction. But this is also an exception where we just need to move from left to right. So I'm going to do that. So I'm actually going to take care of this first. Negative 2, and I'm going to write it again just so I can show my add the opposite. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. But, so again, I'm adding the opposite of whatever the second integer is. So I'm actually going to get rid of this and make this negative. And so I have negative 2 plus negative 12. So Sometimes I might think of a negative as a loss. I've lost $2, then I've lost another 12. Oh no, I've lost $14. That's terrible. And then I'm going to add -3. Great, now I'm adding another loss of 3, and so that leaves me with -17. Again, if you forget how to add and subtract integers, you're gonna have to go back and rewatch the 8.1 lesson so that you can get a refresher on how to do that. In grade 8, we mostly focused on multiplication and division because those are the grade 8 outcomes. Okay, so in this next one, I have some square brackets to deal with. So all of our integers except for the first one have these brackets around them, but I do see these square brackets, so that is something that we need to do first. We need to take care of these brackets first. Another thing that might come up in this question, there's no sign in front of the 8, and in math, if there's no sign in front of a number, we always assume it's positive, so this would be a positive 8, even though it's not written. But I'm going to take care of this first. Knowing that this is positive, this is negative, my signs are different, I'm going to end up with a negative product. 8 times 3 is 24. And we've done that portion, and then we're going -9, take away -2 times that. So the next thing I want to do is take care of this. -2 times the -24, my signs are the same, I'm going to get a positive product, 48. And then I'm down to -9, take away a positive 48. So again, here I want to add the opposite. And I get -57. Okay, so that's it. There are some homework questions for you in assignment 5, which I will post, and thanks for watching.